because they tried. And I mean, they have tried
What
me
we're going to do
all
today
morning.
is that we're going to back up a few steps, um, and go back to several days ago where I showed you this post from August 5th of this year, this Facebook post by Penwa Thomas, by a young lady named Penwa Thomas, that she posted on Facebook relative to a channeled ascension message. And
Mm-hmm.
up until that point, we had, as you all know, we had been dealing with the various aspects of this ascension process and perfecting our understanding relative to what we can anticipate, so that we can recognize this with full consciousness and awareness and prepare ourselves energetically for this next transitional phase in the ascension. The
Mm-hmm.
next transitional phase, as we indicated, is occurring currently. It began on August 8th, and it is going to extend through 5 days through August the 13th. And it is called the Lion's Gate Portal. If you're taking notes, write that down. And we're going to give you a full, complete understanding, to the best of my ability today, of what is occurring. And this is something that is tremendously profound and tremendously significant. It is a day of rejoicing. And this, as the Hebrew Israelites who are on the line, as you well understand, that on August 8th, we celebrated, it was the traditional celebration or uh, of the marriage of the Lamb. All of this is um, intimately tied together. And over the
Mm-hmm.
next several classes,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to, certainly attempt to bring this to put it on view, as clearly as possible. Do you all remember the scripture? And some people tell me it's changed, and I know it's changed, but this scripture that said that the lion will lie down with the lamb,
Yes.
lion lying
Mm-hmm.
down with the lamb.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Apparently, this uh, has changed to the wolf lying down with the lamb, but it's the same thing. It is literally
Mm-hmm.
the same thing. We're talking about an apex predator, whether we're talking about the lion or the wolf. But with these so-called, I forget what you call them. Anyway, I can't remember the term. Some of these things have changed. This an anomaly where, just like they're saying that the Reese cup, or a Reese's candy bar or whatever, has changed. These certain things uh, have changed. I can't remember what they're called, but it. I remember the scripture verse where it said, "The lion will lie down with the lamb." So we'll stay with that. This energy portal that is currently opening up is called the Lion's Gate portal. It's very, very significant. This is the month of August, the eighth month, and um, Astrologically speaking, it is the time of Leo the lion. So on August 8th, 2018, an energy portal known as the Lion's Gate will be hitting the Earth with unprecedented amounts of photonic light. Photonic light. So if you're taking notes, write down the word photonic light. And then right next to that, solar light. And then next to that, the sun, S-U-N. Solar light and the sun. Keep these things in mind because we're going to be tying all of this together. This energy will hit you, meaning will affect you, no matter what level of ascension you have completed. This is the 5-dimensional layer we have been doing all this work for. Imagine this as a layer of higher dimensional reality. Listen, superimposed over a 3D world. Now, what was just explained there is going to be the basis, or is going to provide the reason why these energetic anomalies are going to occur and are occurring now. They are occurring now. I am experiencing them in a very personal, uh, very real way as we speak. We've had numerous people indicate that they're having problems logging into, this particular online conference that we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
even called into the Go to Meeting tech support, which is overseas, and they couldn't get in a meeting. And
Wow. Yeah.
Nasika Haron was having difficulties and is having difficulties logging in since yesterday. He can't even call in now. He can't even
Mm.
get in over the
Mm.
phone. So we're recording
Mm.
this
Mm-hmm.
for
Mm-hmm.
posterity and for future reference. So the fact that this 5D layer is beginning to superimpose the third
Yes.
dimensional, fourth dimensional
Yes.
realm,
Mm-hmm.
we are experiencing and will continue to experience during this time certain outcomes or affects from this energetic shift, from this superimposing, or the better term is an energetic shift to the fifth dimension. Now, the third dimension, as you'll see, is not going anywhere, but there's
Right.
going to be some resistance. There's going to be
Mm-hmm.
a clash. There's going to be some
Yes.
affects and effects and outcomes that will and are manifesting themselves. And it was
Mm-hmm.
so it's just so ironic and really synchronistic that as I was going to deal with this today as a means of admonition and forewarning, that first thing this morning, these things, these affects, these outcomes, these
Mm-hmm.
anomalies begin to
Mm-hmm.
manifest themselves to the
Yes.
extent that, some of our usual members on this call cannot get online. So
Yep.
it goes on to say that the matrix, that is this 3D, 4D matrix or simulated false matrix, will still be here as we know it. It's not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But now, ethereally, emotionally, and in a vibrational sense, all those who have chosen to wake up at this time will not exist there. In other words, we are making a transition from the
Yes. Yes.
influences
Yes.
of the false simulated matrix,
Yes.
the
Yes.
physical realm, the
Can.
3, 4D world. Does
Can.
everyone get
Yes.
what I'm talking about at this particular time?
Absolutely, Chef. Absolutely. Yep.
Are we all on the same page?
Mm-hmm. Can.
Kane, Eitai. Kane.
Okay.
Now it's funny. Perhaps you all are answering. I see uh, that you are trying to speak, but I can't hear you. Amaria,
Wow.
if you're on, can you hear me? Akamaria, are you on? Aknezar, can you hear me? If so, let me know. How about Akot Yadia? Are you on? Can you hear me?
Eitai.
If so, let me
I
know.
can hear you, but I'm on the phone and on the computer because I can't get any sound out of my computer.
Wow. Okay, apparently you all cannot communicate with me, so I'm just going to go on and record as if no one was on the line. All right?
I
So
can hear
Mm-hmm.
you fine, Eitai.
it goes on to say that the matrix will still be here as we know it, but now, ethereally, emotionally, and in a vibrational sense, all those that have chosen to wake up will not exist there. In other words, that we will have moved on, although we are not going to be taken out or removed from the physical 3, 4D matrix. We will be vibrating on our own frequency, which will remove us from an energetic standpoint, from a vibrational standpoint, that will remove us for all intents and purposes from this 3D, 4D reality. And the most significant aspect of that removal process will be us becoming neutral from an emotional sense, becoming neutral from an emotional sense as it regards to the low frequency realm of the 3D, 4D matrix. And we have indeed been focusing on these aspects of emotions and how we can use that and have been using that as a critical tool in our ascension process. The revolutionary thing about this is that we have been able to take our physical vessels with us. This is going to continue as our consciousness has ascended. This burst of energy, this upgrade, this energy upgrade will allow us to completely integrate our higher consciousness with our 3D bodies. Now that our physical bodies have undergone intense ascension changes, and many of you are going through, these physical anomalies are starting to manifest themselves as well, in various ways. As we undergo these ascension changes, we are able to stabilize this higher awareness. Three things will occur as this energy comes in. Any unresolved ancestral, familial, or karmic timelines will present themselves. At this time, expect any of these cycles to end or transform for the better. To end or transform for the better. So, what she's talking about is that many aspects um, of our life experience is going to be affected by this. Two, our physical bodies will be undergoing final ascension upgrades. This means you will feel exhausted. You don't even have to burn yourselves out physically. You will just be pooped. Sleep all you need to. Also, anything that our system cannot ingest anymore will make you sick, or you will likely regurgitate it. So, again, just indicating another aspect of these affects that will occur relative to these upgrades. Number three, and we're going to deal with this to a certain extent today. We're going to focus on this. Fear around or financial circumstances will test you severely. On a personal note, this is something that just cropped up today for me. And it wasn't the fear, because, I know how to convert energy and I'm no longer working relative to that low frequency energy. But these financial circumstances, this economic aspect has presented itself. If you give in, you will have to deal with the consequences of not having faith. It no longer pays to worry about money. So this financial aspect and some of the other aspects we're going to focus on. Because like I said, something has, just reared. It's not that something that I was not expecting, or that really took me by surprise. But it is curious that at this time period, that particular um, affect should have manifested itself at this particular time. So again, it's something that is not out of the question, but it's just really curious and synchronistic. And it's going to cause me to focus on that a bit as we lay this thing out. The old paradigm is cycling out. The old paradigm is cycling out. I want to deal with that old paradigm for a second. And this is why the emphasis within the last 2 days of not focusing in on the past, not focusing in on the past as we make this um, shift to the next phase in the ascension process. So these old paradigms cycling out really have to do with the lamb and the marriage of the lamb. All right. As we understand the lamb, we look at it from a biblical standpoint, not just a biblical standpoint, but as it relates to the history of the KOY. Old forms cycling out. Now, you remember in the Old Testament, the sacrificing of the lamb was introduced very early on in the biblical narrative. And indirectly, in the story of um, of Isaac, being sacrificed by his father, and in that narrative, the ram being caught by its horns in the bush for the sacrifice, the Lord Himself providing the sacrifice. We'll go back to that and go to that specific scripture passage right now, just for clarity's sake. Bear with me. I'll get it right.
Eitai, I'm on the computer now.
Eitai, can you hear me?
Hold on.
Eitai, can you hear me? Eitai, can you hear me?
Hello, Eitai, you on there?
Bear with me, fam. I'm having trouble finding this. This is
Eitai. Eitai, can you hear me?
There's
Yes,
I can hear you.
I
I
can.
don't,
I
all
can
right.
hear you.
I don't think he can hear us, but
Genesis
we can
20,
hear him.
Genesis 22. So just to refocus, we're going to talk about the old paradigms cycling out because this is very important. And this really points to this period
Okay, the mic.
from August 8th, the opening of the Lions Gate that corresponds
Michael, can you
directly
hear me?
with
Okay.
the KOY celebration or commemoration of the marriage of the Lamb. And it came to pass after these things that
He's
God
recording.
did tempt Abraham and said unto him, Abraham, he said, Behold, here I am. And he said, Take now thy son, thine only son, Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee to the land of Moriah, and offer him there a burnt offering upon the mountains, which I will tell thee of. And we know the narrative here that Abraham went, and as he had bound his son up and put him upon the altar, he stretched forth his hand, verse 10, and took the knife to slay his son. And the angel of the Lord came out of heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here I am, or here am I. He said, Lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For I know For I now know that thou fearest God, seeing that thou hast not withheld thy only son, thine only son from me. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in the thicket by its horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering instead of his son. So the tradition of sacrificing the ram or the lamb has continued on.
Mm-hmm.
And even in our current generations, when certain individuals began to identify as Hebrew Israelites, this old paradigm of sacrificing the lamb and sacrificing burnt offerings still existed. And as a matter of fact, more accurately, it was revived. It was revived. And we all know, just to fast forward the history of the kingdom, that when the kingdom of Yah, when uh, we were in Liberia and planning to transition into the land, that the lamb or the goat, the sacrifice, hung itself. And that ended an old paradigm. It caused it to cycle out. All right. And a new understanding or a new conception of what? Sacrifice and the lamb was instituted, was initiated. All right.
Right.
And the individual became the sacrifice. So we're looking at this in terms of most of our bases of knowledge. We can understand and we can see relative to the lamb how the old paradigm cycled out, bringing in a new paradigm. Now, follow me now.
Mm-hmm.
August 8th, August 8th of this year, we are seeing another paradigm, old paradigm, cycle out.
Yes.
And the old paradigm that is cycling out is the lion, the dominion of the lion. Now, we talked about the lamb, but now the lion is the king of beasts. You all will
Mm-hmm.
perfectly understand this. The
Yes.
lion, in
Yes.
terms of the food chain, is the king of the beasts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the opposite of that would be a lamb within that
Mm-hmm.
allegory.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the lions that dominated the lambs. So if currently now we are the lamb, we
Mm-hmm.
have to understand that a lion was dominating us.
Yes.
Follow
Yes.
me now.
Yes. Come on. Come on, Shows.
That a certain field of energy, a certain dominant energetic force was dominating us, was
Mm-hmm.
ruling over us. All
Mm-hmm.
right. Now, I'm going to put a bookmark, just put a pin there. We wanted to establish that. If you were on the call yesterday, you all already know that this lion that was dominating over us was a particular field of dominance, as we defined yesterday. A particular field of dominance. All right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to go back over that, but I'm putting this thing, I want us to be present in this moment. Present in this moment. And the moment that I'm talking about, that I'm focusing on right now, is August 8th until now. And that period is going to extend to the 13th. This is a very important shift that is taking place. So I'm being very careful and very deliberate in leading you all through this so that we have a perfect understanding of where it is we are and what it is that we need to do. So the old paradigm, just as in our history, we go from the sacrificing of the lamb or the ram or the goat, the sacrificing of that animal, to our current understanding that we are the sacrifice. All right? That we are the sacrifice, that the lamb was referring to us and some aspect of us. We have to understand that when we bring in the other allegorical symbol, which is opposite the lamb, it will be the lion. I remember in my scriptures that Isaiah, the 11th chapter in the 6th verse, said that the lion shall dwell with the lamb. But we'll read it in context, and you're going to see a very familiar verse that we have gone over multiple times in Isaiah 11. And it is the first through the fourth verse of Isaiah 11. Then we're going to go to, I believe it is Isaiah 56 or Isaiah 65 or something like that, where it talks about it. But we want to put this in the proper context so that it will begin to define this transitional period that we are in. Our ancestors believed this, anticipated all of this. They have controlled all of this behind the scenes. Isaiah, the 11th chapter, verses 1 through 6. Again, verses 1 through 4, very familiar to us. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, or Yishai, and a branch shall grow out of his roots.
Yes.
This is you. This is talking about you. This is talking about us. We've taught about this multiple times. We're circling back to it to perfect your understanding relative to this current time period. There shall come forth out of a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots, and the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon you, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord. And you shall be of quick understanding in the fear of the Lord, and you shall not judge after the sight of your eyes, neither reprove by the hearing of your ears. Why? We just talked about it. Because ethereally, listen, ethereally, you'll still be in the matrix, but ethereally, emotionally, and in a vibrational sense, all of us that have chosen to wake up at this time, we will not be affected by that.
Right.
By any of that. This should make sense to us.
Yes.
It makes sense to us that we're going to be of a quick understanding, not judged by the sight of our eyes, our physical senses, neither reprove after the hearing of the ears. We will have what? Elevated, graduated to using our spiritual or energetic senses.
Yes.
We will be in the matrix, but not of the matrix. That should make sense to us.
Absolutely.
With righteousness shall we judge the poor, and reprove with equity for the meek of the earth. This equity, family, has to do with that level 250 of neutrality. That level
Mm-hmm.
2 of neutrality and balance in our judgment, not being manipulated emotionally by what the poor, that is, people at a lower frequency vibrational uh, range, that are stuck in that low frequency vibrational range, do. We will reprove with equity the meek of the earth,
Mm-hmm.
and we shall smite the earth with the rod of our mouths, and with the breath of our lips will we slay the wicked. Holistic language,
Yep.
holistic language instead of dualistic language.
Mm-hmm.
And righteousness shall be the girdle of our loins, and faithfulness the girdle of our reins. The wolf, I'm going to say lion, but it doesn't matter. The wolf, that is the lion, also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and the child and a little child shall lead them. We don't even have to go into detail about that.
Mm-hmm.
We should all have
Yes.
a perfect
Yes.
understanding of what that all is talking about. But this
Absolutely.
idea of this transition from the dominance of what was at the top of this hierarchical energy system, which
Mm-hmm.
was the lion, the transition out of that dominance, out of that sphere of influence, out of what we identified yesterday, out of that field of dominance is what we are faced with today. In Isaiah, the 11th chapter, verses 1, uh, actually, we'll go 1 through 7. We'll go 1 through 7 if you want a reference. Isaiah 11, 1 through 7 puts this in proper context. That was the way our ancestors described this particular time period and looked forward to it and anticipated it. The other reference is in Isaiah 65, and it says verse 25, but we'll begin at verse 17. At verse 17, and this is going to be familiar to us. Isaiah 65, verses 17 through 25. Isaiah 65, verses 17 through 25. For behold, listen, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered nor come to mind. Do you all understand the old paradigm cycling
Mm-hmm. Yes.
shift from 3D, 4D reality
Mm-hmm.
to 5D reality and life
Yes.
experience? New
Yes.
heavens and new earth. New
Mm-hmm.
heavens and new earth. All right? The former, that is the old paradigm, shall not be remembered nor come into mind. But be ye glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem a rejoicing, and her people a joy. This is this shift now. And I will rejoice in Jerusalem and joy in my people, and the voice of weeping shall be no more heard in her, nor the voice of crying. That is because we are transitioning from field of dominance, the field of dominance that we talked about yesterday, and we're going to return to get an even higher understanding of this field of dominance, which is symbolized by the lion, symbolized by the lion in many ancient traditions, and especially in the Hebraic tradition. I will rejoice in Jerusalem and joy in my people, and the voice of weeping shall be no more heard in her, nor the voice of crying. There shall be no more thence an infant of days, nor an old man that hath not filled his days. For the child shall die 100 years old, but the sinner being 100 years old shall be accursed. And they shall build houses and inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards and eat the fruit of them. They shall not build and another inhabit. They shall not plant and another eat. For in those days a tree are those days, for as the days of a tree are the days of my people, and mine elect shall long enjoy the work of their hands. Now, we've been talking about all of this, but if you stay under the dominion, even energetically, of the solar system, you're not going to live out your days. Will not live out your days. The shift has to be from solar energy to cosmic energy. We're going to make this very apparent. Solar energy as the source of life, you must shift to cosmic energy as the source of life. You all remember, what does a god eat?
Right.
What does a god eat? They shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth for trouble. For they are the seed of the blessed of the Lord, and their offspring with them. And it shall come to pass that before they call, come on now, I will answer. I don't know about you all personally, but I know that I'm approaching this.
Me too.
I
Me too,
know
shows.
for a fact,
Likewise.
my
Likewise.
experience, that I am
Yep.
approaching
Yes.
very close to this.
Yes. Likewise,
That
shows.
answers are coming before I can ask the question. That requests are
Okay,
being
me too.
granted as I
Yes.
am speaking them.
Yes. Yes.
Before they
Absolutely,
call, I
shows.
will answer. And while they are yet speaking, I will hear. Family, I know that to be the case. I know we are right here.
Yes.
We are right here.
Okay.
So we want to give you this understanding, this proper understanding and comprehension of what we are actually moving through in real time right now as we speak. It says the wolf, which I believe earlier was the lion for some reason, and the lamb shall feed together. The lion shall eat straw like the bullock, and dust shall be the serpent's meat. And this dust, what dust is that? That's cosmic dust. That's cosmic dust. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, saith the Lord. So Isaiah 11, 1 through 7, and Isaiah 65, 17 through 25. This is our ancestors predicting this day, this time period that we are moving through now, that we are currently experiencing now.
What is that serpent meat?
So we know that this, along with this portal opening, that there are these stellar and cosmic and solar events that are corresponding. The one we pointed out was the Perseid meteor shower
Yes.
that was to occur between August 11th to August 12th, and then August 12th to August 13th. All right. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it's curious, family. My brother and sister-in-law left here on the 9th and are going to return on the 13th. And, you know, they were in the Dominican Republic. And you remember we used uh, a an example from
Mm-hmm.
Dominica yesterday. So all of these
Yes.
things are currently working together to, you know, in our life experience, in our individual and collective life experience, to show us exactly where we're at this particular point. This is a
Mm-hmm.
no miss proposition.
Okay.
We are current in the moment, in the present, and we are endeavoring to comprehend these things and to know them and to apply the particular techniques, uh, esoteric techniques, divine techniques that we have been given at this particular point. This is a no miss, family.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to go back, and what I want you to see is this map in the middle, or this outline or graph in the middle of the Kabbalistic tree of life. We've gone over it, we're returning to it. And I want you to view this thing in terms of the figure from Daniel, from the book of Daniel, this great image, Nebuchadnezzar's image. I want us to view this momentarily. And as always, we set the stage, we set the framework for anything that we talk about. We set things within the framework of divine emanation
Mm-hmm.
as a reminder that this is always the framework that we start from. We are top down in our perspective, top down first. That always has to be in the forefront of our minds, that we are divine beings that emanated into the realms of the physical. And we are currently trapped there, but escaping, ascending. So I'm going to talk about this in terms of how they got it laid out. That this first triangular hierarchical arrangement, the triangle with the point, with these sephira or circles at each point of the triangle's base on the bottom and its point, highest point on the top, that this trinity represents the first triple light power. It corresponds to the head of gold on the statue or
Mm-hmm.
on the figure. When you look at the second triple light power, it is the triangle that has flipped upside down or
Yes, that's
inverted.
it. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The base is at the top, and
Mm-hmm.
the point that which was at the that was originally at the top is at the bottom. All right.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So it represents what is referred here as the second light power, which corresponds to the silver portion of the statue,
Mm-hmm.
torso, shoulders, and arms, or the Silver Age, the Bronze Age, the Silver Age. And an inversion took place where
Yes.
the hierarchy flipped upside down. Now
Mm-hmm.
we look at we look at the third light power, all right, which corresponds to, and is actually this, it corresponds to the bronze hips and thighs, or the Bronze Age of the image. And it is in the same inverted position. It is in the same inverted position. All right?
Mm-hmm.
And it says of the third triple light power, it says self-willed or lion-faced light power. Lion-faced light power. I want us to write that phrase down. Lion-faced light power. Lion-faced light power. And then put the equal sign, and then put Yaldabaoth, Yaldabaoth / the Demiurge, Demiurge / ruler of the solar system. Ruler of the solar system. Then next to that, / field of dominance. Field of dominance. You all should see where I'm going with this. Now here, in the fourth division here, it just says the mixture. And you see one Sephira that has fallen below, that is called Malkuth. Now Malkuth is the king, is Hebrew for the word kingdom. It's translated kingdom. And what is the animal system, or the animal symbol for the kingdom but the lion?
Mm-hmm.
Is everyone with me?
Okay.
Okay.
The symbol is the lion. This first, second, third, and fourth level, the mixture again corresponds to the legs of iron, which indicates severe duality. And
Yes.
to compound the severe dualistic aspect of this age of iron is the fact that there is a mixture that is going to take place,
Mm-hmm.
which is indicated by the feet and toes, not only of iron, but of what the scripture calls miry clay. Miry clay. So it says here, the mixture, and it refers to the Iron Age, all right, or the Kingdom Age, that is going to be characterized by profound dualism and this admixture aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, family. We talked yesterday, and we'll return to it. We broke down the Gnostic version of what's called cosmogenesis. Cosmogenesis, the creation of the universe or more specifically, the creation of the simulated dualistic matrix. The simulated dualistic matrix. And we looked at this section called Yaldabaoth, the Demiurge, the origin and ascension of the patriarchal quote unquote God and quote unquote creator of the simulated dualistic matrix. We're going to revisit this briefly and just make some points, just as a refresher. In the Platonic, Neo-Pythagorean, Middle Platonic, and Neoplatonic schools of philosophy, the Demiurge is an artisan-like figure responsible for fashioning and maintaining the physical universe. The term Demiurge was adopted by the Gnostics. Although a fashioner, the Demiurge is not necessarily the same as the creator figure, and that is a fact. The Demiurge is not the creator. We, in this realm, in this false realm where perception and deception exist simultaneously, we incarnated into a world where we falsely understood that the Demiurge was in fact the creator, mostly due to the fact that we had no conception of ourselves being the ultimate creator. So whatever was presented to us in the form of a quote unquote God, we understood that to be the genuine creator. But it was just this demiurge energy that we were referring to. Although a fashioner, the demiurge is not necessarily the same as the creator figure in the monotheistic sense, because the demiurge itself and the material from which the demiurge fashioned the universe are both considered to be consequences of something else. They are a family concept. That something else is that these things are consequences of our flawed entry into the physical realms. So consequently, we created this flawed energy system. Depending on the system or flawed energy field, depending on the system, they may be considered to be either uncreated and eternal or considered to be the product of some other entity. That other entity is us. That other entity is us. The word demiurge is an English word derived from demiurgus, a Latinized form of the Greek demiurgos. It was originally a common noun which meant craftsman or artisan, and we pointed out yesterday that a craftsman or an artisan is not the creator. A craftsman works with wood or metal or some other material that was originally created by something else. He or she only fashions those things that were created. So this is what the demiurge is. Now, we're not talking about a fashioner in terms of material things. We're talking about a fashioner in terms of energy, So keep that in mind. But gradually, this demiurge figure came to mean, first of all, producer, and then creator. And then, family, it lost its title and designation as demiurge, and the name Yaldabaoth disappeared and was replaced by other names such as Allah, such as Yahuwah, such as Buddha, etc., and so on. the creator gods of the different traditions. So this shift took place, and what was originally known as a created figure as a result of the movement of divinity became known as the divinity itself. All right? The creative divinity itself. And so we incarnated into this age, and all of us had that conception of whatever God that we placed above us. But we're going to prove that whatever it was this demiurge energy. The philosophical usage and proper noun derived from Plato's Timaeus, written in 360 BC, in which the demiurge is presented as the creator of the universe. Now, that is true. The creator of the universe, not the multiverse, but the universe. The universe, the false simulated matrix. We should all know this. The demiurge is also described as a creator in the Platonic, that is 310 to 90 BC, and Middle Platonic, 90 BC to AD 300, which is the beginning of the so-called church age or the modern age philosophical traditions. In the various branches of the Neoplatonic school, 3rd century and onwards, the demiurge is the fashioner of the real, quote unquote, that is simulated, perceptible world after the model of ideas. But in most Neoplatonic system, is still not itself the one. Somewhere that was lost, that understanding that it was not the creator. It was just the creator of the physical 3D, 4D simulated matrix. All right? The perceptible world after the model of ideas. In the arch dualist ideology of the various Gnostic systems, the material universe is evil, while the non-material world is good. According to some strains of Gnosticism, the demiurge is malevolent, as it is linked to the material world. In others, including the teaching of Valentinus, the demiurge is simply ignorant or misguided. And it goes on to say, to further qualify this demiurge, saying that Gnosticism presents a distinction between you, the highest, unknowable, and that's not true, divinity, and the demiurgic creator, a fashioner of the material simulated matrix. So we made that distinction yesterday, circle back to that to give it more emphasis, and then now we're going to continue on and lead into this next part, which is you'll see a review. So when we look at the word Yaldabaoth, there are not many people that I've been able to discover that look at that name and can see two Hebraic words that are formed to make up the name Yaldabaoth. But once you break this down from a Hebraic standpoint, it's going to define this energy even more. In Jeremiah, the 16th chapter, in the 19th verse, we went over this yesterday. It says, surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit. That word profit is the word Ya'al, H3276. And I have it here. Ya'al means to gain, to profit, benefit, or avail from. All right? To gain, profit, we get it. The word dava or daba, which is the singular form of the word Dabaoth, the word dava or daba is H1738, and it means to be ill, to be sick, to be ill, to be unwell, to be infirmed. All right? It refers to an infirmity. And it's specifically talking about a woman's infirmity relative to the sickness incurred during the cycle of menstruation. And thus it means to be sad in heart. So this word Yaldabaoth refers to an energy field or an energy system that profits or gains or avails from sadness, that is, lower frequency energy and emotions. Lower frequency energies and emotions. This was the field of dominance that was in supremacy when we incarnated into the physical realms, reincarnated, that is, into the physical realms during this current age, And we incarnated, family, during this time of extreme and profound dualism, where it will have reached its apex. And the experience within that time period would be profoundly dualistic. And it would be an admixture as well. So we are at this point relative to the imagery of the book of Daniel in the Nebuchadnezzar's statue. We are right here. We incarnated into, in this current age, the feet of iron and miry clay. We are at this sunken position of Malkuth, the kingdom age, where the lion, Yaldabaoth, the ruler of the solar system, that energy system, that energy field, that field of dominance it's at its strongest and in supremacy. In supremacy. This should all make sense to us. So, going back to the Gnostic tale, to again fit this in a framework. And Sophia desired to cause the thing, and you are Sophia. You and I are Sophia. Represents the aspect of us, a certain aspect of our divinity, as we emanated into the physical realm. So you and I are Sophia from a holistic perspective. And Sophia, that you and I desired to cause the thing that had no innate spirit of its own to be formed into a likeness and rule over primal matter, rule over the simulated matrix, rule over the 3D physical universe, over all the forces she had precipitated. So there appeared for the first time a ruler out of chaos. Look, lion-like in appearance, androgynous, having an exaggerated sense of power within him. So again, this is talking about, sorry about that. This is talking about this in allegorical terms, just to give us a framework. And it is using the tool of personification. It is using a tool and to give this personified, both personified and zoomorphic characteristic. Not to be confusing, but to show us a clear picture of the different aspects of this particular field of dominance, to make it simple for us as we wake up, as we raise our level of consciousness, so that it is told almost as a children's story, as a fairy tale, so that we can understand these profound and complex energetic principles that are in place. Having an exaggerated sense of power within him and ignorant of whence he came to be. So it is talking about an aspect that once we came under the dominance of this particular, we came under the supremacy and under the influence of this particular energetic system, this particular field of dominance, we would take on the characteristics of that particular field of dominance. And the aspect of being ignorant of whence he came to be would be our experience as well, as being ignorant of our own source, ignorant of our own self. Should make sense to us, family. Should make sense to us. Moving on. Natural systems or morphic units at all levels of complexity. And these are complex systems now. Atoms, molecules, crystals, cells, tissues, organs, organisms, and societies of organisms are animated, organized, and coordinated by morphic fields, which contain an inherent memory. There is a continuous spectrum of morphic fields, including morphogenic fields, listen, behavioral fields, mental fields, emotional fields, social and cultural fields, etc. A field of dominance, and I'm just going to read this part of the definition, then we're going to move on because we covered this yesterday, is exhibited by high energy patterns and in their influence over weaker ones. High energy patterns, this is what Yaldabaoth represents, a high energy pattern. And its influence over weaker ones. So it is talking about, now it's not talking about a high frequency energy pattern. It is talking about high energy in terms of stronger patterns within the framework of lower frequency energy, because Yaldabaoth rules or benefits or gains from lower frequency energy, right? He's one that rules over and gains from lower frequency energy. It has influence over those lower frequency energies and anyone and anything that is vibrating within the realm of those lower frequency energies. It influences those things. So we're going to look at another way that our ancestors gave us to understand this. Again, a field of dominance is exhibited by high energy patterns, their influence over weaker ones. So we're going to look at this in terms of the universe, which falls under the solar system. And this is why the lion and the sun are interchangeable systems. Yaldabaoth, that field of dominance, dominates over the solar system. It exercises its dominance and influence over the solar system. Listen, family, and everything and everyone that remains connected to the solar system. The opening of the Lion's Gate portal means that we have now reached a vibrational frequency that allows us the ability to transcend the influence of this field of dominance referred to in the ancient Gnostic tales as Yaldabaoth or the Demiurge. That is what has been dominating us, locking us into a certain life experience now, family. Culturally, socially, and I'm not just talking about what we might consider the negative aspects of society, the negative aspects of culture. Any culture that worships the God of the Bible is under the influence of Yaldabaoth.
Mm-hmm.
A field of dominance. A field of dominance
Yes.
that gains power from lower frequency energy and lower consciousness and lower level conscious thought and perception. Lower level conscious thought and perception. You got to feel me on this.
Mm-hmm.
A field of dominance is existed by higher energy patterns in their influence over weaker ones. Follow me. Yaldabaoth is the first ruler. Yaldabaoth is the first ruler, meaning is the supreme dominating field of energy who took power from his mother. Then he left her and moved away from the realms where he was born. He was strong and created for himself other realms by means of a bright flame of fire that still exists. So these other realms, family, are lower vibrational frequencies, weaker vibrational frequencies that attend this higher energy pattern that is associated with this higher energy pattern. From a Christian or Hebraic standpoint, Judeo-Christian standpoint, this is represented by Yahuwah or Jehovah or the God of the Bible and the archangels.
Mm-hmm.
In the Gnostic tradition, which preceded this, it was Yaldabaoth, the Demiurge, and the archons. Very simple. Very simple. He made it with the mindlessness that is in him and produced his own authorities. That this is this hierarchical arrangement of energies from stronger ones to weaker ones, from stronger ones to weaker ones, Yaldabaoth being the strongest among the lower frequency, lower consciousness energies. Should make sense to us, family.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying anything that is strange. We're just looking at this from a another perspective to give us more, a deeper understanding of it, and a higher conception of it. These authorities were the archons, seven animal-headed angels, seven animal-headed angels who help Yaldabaoth govern our solar system. Solar system. We should have perfect insight into this, family. In a shocking parody, well, it's not really shocking. In a shocking parody of the traditional view, these sinister beings were sometimes identified by names normally used for the Old Testament creator God. Well, not so shocking to us because we've shown you how Yaldabaoth over time was redefined as from a fashioner and an artisan and a craftsman, which is what it actually was, the result of
Mm-hmm.
something else,
Mm-hmm.
to the creator God
Right.
of all these traditions, especially
Yes.
Western traditions.
Yes.
All Western traditions, none escape, none escape. The names of glory of those who rule over the seven heavens are these: the first, Athoth, with the face of a lion; the second, Elois, with the face of an ass; the third, Astaphaos, with the face of a hyena; the fourth, Yao, with the face of a seven-headed snake; the fifth, Sabaoth, with the face of a dragon. Some of these names should be familiar to us, especially Sabaoth. The sixth, Adanim, or Adonai, with the face of an ape; the seventh, Shabbatel, the seventh, Sabbatel, or Shabbat, with the face of shining flames of fire. This is the seven of the week. These are the ones that govern the world, and that world is the false simulated matrix, or the solar system, or the electromagnetic spectrum, the universe. So this should be really clear to us.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the scripture excerpts are from the secret book of John, the secret teaching of Jesus. All right. The ancient Gnostics identified the seven archons with the seven visible planets. With the seven visible planets. Together, these wicked archons ruled over Hebdomad, the multi-layered network of prison walls with the earth at its core. So this is the system, family, that we were trapped under. And it is energetic. And we are at a point that we are transitioning out of it. We are transitioning out of this system. So don't be surprised. Don't be shocked that there is going to be resistance, resistance to you entering into this portal.
Mm-hmm.
This field of dominance is not only over us, is not only around us, it is continues to be in us to a certain extent. And
Mm-hmm.
we are connected to it by old patterns of belief, old
Mm-hmm.
form of belief, and old forms of experience. old paradigms,
Mm-hmm.
old thought patterns, old perceptions,
Yes.
old thoughts, and the emotions that those thoughts, that those beliefs, that those perceptions are connected to and continue to elicit within us.
Yes.
And there's going to be quite naturally corresponding effects as they relate to emotions. And these effects are going to manifest themselves in our individual life experiences. And I'm certain all of us, to one extent, to one degree or another, are experiencing these upheavals, these
Yes.
manifestations, these
Mm-hmm.
eruptions, like I did earlier today. Like I did earlier today. Nasik wants me to call him back. Something happened last night that he knows that is related to this. And when we go back where we started, the sister here warned us that as a result of the intrusion, if I can use that word, or the formulation of this connection with the five-dimensional reality as it superimposes the three four-dimensional reality,
Mm-hmm.
that there's going to be a reaction that happens that is again going to take form in terms of life experience. All of this is connected, and it will want to elicit from us low frequency emotions, low frequency energy, and draw us back into the simulated matrix. That's what it was designed to do by our forefathers. So
Mm-hmm.
it's going to take a particular focus now on what we've been talking about up until this point, a particular focus on converting this energy, on being what? Aware, acutely aware of our emotions moment by moment. And then when when something happens that it elicits a low frequency response, that we immediately convert that energy.
Mm-hmm.
We immediately convert that energy, family. This is where we are. This is where we are. Our ancestors used these, personified these energies because they are intelligent. There is an intelligence to them that corresponds almost to human and animal proportions. So it's just like you are trying to escape from an entity. Look at it like that. And you're going to have to know what it is that is opposing you. You're going to have to know the nature of it from an energetic standpoint. This is what we are putting on view uh, with you today, so that we know the proportions and the characteristics of what is called a field of dominance now. Yaldabaoth, a field of dominance. We have to, at this point, family, as we talked about um, recently, we must maintain escape velocity. We must maintain escape velocity. In this case, escape frequency, escape vibrational frequency. and not allow these things that again are erupting now as this portal is open and the dominant field of the dominant field of influence, the dominant energetic um, field of dominance, that system is becoming weaker. It will attempt to maintain its strength. And the way that it maintains its strength is to distract you from your focus on higher frequency thoughts, higher frequency perception, higher frequency life, and to distract you and to distract your attention back. And then where what? Attention goes, look, energy flows, and it will gain on your low frequency emotional output, your low frequency negative emotional output. We have to be very careful during this time period. We will break through. No doubt about that. We will break through. We've been given everything that we need, all of the information that we need in order to break through. But we must be consistent. We must be tenacious relative to our attention and our focus. We also must recognize, as I pointed out the other day, that we are prone to many things, that we are prone because of the particular age that we emanated, that we incarnated into, which is at the very end, where the experience here, that the totality of experience here would be profoundly dualistic, that we were born into, or we were born with a tendency and with inclination toward dualism, and that we have a tendency to gravitate back to those things which held us down, which we were influenced by for so long, which we suffered from for so long, which we have experienced for so long. But if we do that, it's going to be regrettable. It's going to be regrettable. We are in this prone position, as I tried to indicate uh, uh, the other day, and I think this graph indicates it a lot better, where we were inverted into a prone position. We were inverted into a prone or face down position, and we remained there during the majority of the devolution, the fall into the material realm and into dualism. And we indicated this several ways. We have to have a clear picture of this, a clear image of this, and a clear conception of this, an understanding of this, if we are going to do our best to overcome this particular time period and to successfully transition out of the dominion of the lion's gate and into the fifth dimensional realm, into the fifth dimensional realms and higher. So, family, that should be pretty clear for us relative to this economic piece, that I talked about earlier as we close. These symbols, the symbol of the lion and the sun, and especially the symbol of the lion, uh, that these symbols are used over the various, in various ways, culturally, especially in terms of entrance gates and portals, all right? And even in their most symbolic usage, they are used in terms of guardians, the guardians of this particular field of dominance. As you see the lion with the sword in its hand and the sun at its back and the crown over its head. Multiple representations using, and especially related to banking, uh, these lion sigils and lion symbols, whether they're in the logo or whether they're hidden, uh, they represent a closed door to us in so many areas relative to our life experience. And as Isaiah 11 indicated, and Isaiah 65, those portions of scriptures, and you all see these lion sigils, the rampant lion, that is Yaldabaoth. That is the God of this world, family. That is the God of this world. That is the supreme field of dominance of this age that has kept us locked out of a complete range of experience relative to this life experience during this particular incarnation. And as Isaiah 11 and Isaiah 65, those portions of scripture that we read, as they characterize us breaking through this Lion's Gate portal and having a new experience, not outside of the 3D, 4D matrix in terms of our physical bodies. We're carrying those with us. But energetically now, we're on another level where the heavens and the earth will be new. Our entire life experience is going to be renovated. It's going to be resurrected. It's going to be restored. And we will enter a real kingdom age. A real, not the false one that occurred on that was projected to us or given to us within the false simulated matrix where we didn't even recognize it up until recently. But the very real kingdom age, a new Jerusalem, as it were, new heavens, new earth, a new people. It is not going to, again, it's going to be a remnant of a remnant. We
Mm-hmm.
must recognize who it is. Our ancestors have really blessed us to give us this information at this particular time, to give us the insight, the divine insight and understanding of this at this particular time in so timely a manner. As we are going through it, we are being instructed specifically, directly. So as we said in previous classes, as we close, don't add to it, don't take away from it. Accept it as it is and do your work, family. Do your work. You know how to do it. Many of us, I told my Isha about this. Many of us now, in these recent sessions that we're doing, you all are starting to remember. You all are starting to remember. You are starting to access this inner knowledge. You are starting to think and to act and to perceive more and more holistically as we make this transition. It's occurring very rapidly, and I'm a witness to it. So continue to do what it is that you are doing. Apply this knowledge again. Don't add to it. Don't take away from it. Just seek to broaden and heighten and deepen your understanding of it. So with that, I'm going to say wholeness, and hopefully you all, I can hear you all. You all can talk, whereas you can ask questions or give
Turkey.
comments. Toda.